son. Where'd you find this?
Buckle up, buttercups. It's time to get down to business. Oh, yeah. It's the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast. Totally legit.
It's the Totally Legitimate Business Podcast, and we're back, and we're joined again by Preston Van Loon. Welcome back to the show.
Hell yeah.
Now, this one is special, folks, because Preston and I were cooking up something real juicy for you. And it's not quite out ready yet, but it's going to be out there soon. And what we did was we flew through the eclipse. Sick.
It was sick and legit. It was totally legit.
The entire process was incredibly legit. And we'll get into it here, but I was just, especially looking at it happened so fast.
It really did.
Like it happened for all the planning. It happened so fast. But we did say at the beginning to make sure that we remembered to enjoy it while it was happening. And I think we did.
I know I did. I think we were, dude, we were smiling. We were
it's in the video.
Time.
Yeah, for sure.
We were having a good time.
I also thought it was really funny too, because we were definitely coordinating getting into the space, but once we got there, we were both just kind of like, wow, this is so crazy.
It definitely was work, and it definitely was a little bit stressful at times. Like, it wasn't just like a flight around the block where we're just having fun and there's, no timelines or anything like that. It was, we felt that we really wanted it to happen, but we still said to ourselves, like, you know what, we don't have to do this. We're just going to go have fun. We're going to go on a flight, and that's good enough. And it ended up just being a lot of fun.
It was incredible.
Yeah,
it was incredible. So you had called me and said that you wanted to do the eclipse. What made you want to do the eclipse, number one? And number two, at what point did it shift to we're going to fly through the eclipse?
Yeah, well, we had a trip planned, I don't know, a year or two ago. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we were going to fly to Dallas and spend the weekend in Dallas and kind of do some Texas shit was basically the idea. But as things go, I got COVID and I couldn't go. So I had even bought these awesome shirts to, because we were going to walk around and see the JFK site, Daily Plaza, and like do all the tourist stuff and just be really obnoxious, ridiculous people. But the point of that was, like, we wanted to fly somewhere, to go somewhere, just to experience general aviation. So I had a lot of friends in Texas. I grew up in Central Texas, in San Antonio specifically, and I wanted to do it again. I felt like we missed out on another adventure where we could go fly somewhere and do something cool. We had done this once before. We flew to Miami, and that was a really
that was a super sick trip too.
That was a blast. That was an absolute blast. And I really wanted to do it again. I do a lot of flying by myself. Not a lot of people can go on these kind of trips with me. So I was really, really happy that you could go. And I thought, let's go to Texas and hang out and have some barbecue and see the eclipse from Totality, because I've never done it. I don't know if you've ever done that.
No.
But I've heard just that it's a really surreal experience on the ground. And so that was the idea. Let's sort of make up for this Dallas trip we didn't get to do. We'll go to Texas.
One up ourselves. Yeah.
One up ourselves, look directly at the sun and that be okay, and it to be something to remember, just like the Dallas trip would have been something to remember. And you went anyway with some other friends. And I know
it was just Sam and I. It was just, we did have a blast. We did do a bunch of Texas shit. So yeah, I mean, that's how it started. And then the more I started thinking about it and scheming about it, I was like thinking about how much time we'd take off of work because it's on a Monday, and how we wanted to have buffer days on either side. And I was like, well, if we fly back on Monday, like right after the eclipse, like we go get in the plane and leave, then we could still stick to a tighter timeline. And then I was thinking, I said, well, why don't we just fly back during the eclipse? And then we get to see it. And so that's sort of where we started at. And then it spiraled out of control. I said, well, if we do that, we have to capture this, because not a lot of people do that. I mean, we saw other people doing it, but maybe it was like dozens. I think there were dozens of planes along the Totality. It wasn't like people on the ground where there were obviously thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, I don't know, of people in Totality of the Eclipse looking up at it, where we were just, a small number of people that got to experience this. So, and when you look on YouTube, there isn't a lot of great footage. Like maybe you'll see some from people in airlines looking out the window, but nothing quite like what we saw, where we're sort of low level or mid level altitudes. It's very different at 30, 40,000 feet than it is at 10,000 feet. And it was just a great trip too. Like you see these eclipse videos or like cell phone shots of that moment, and we have 4K footage.
Well, I guess
all of Totality.
You bring up a real good point, because like we went there with the intent to capture. If we're going to do this, we're going to make sure that we capture it. I think every video that I had seen of Totality up to that point was either a news station's camera on the ground, or maybe there was a couple of the recent one that were people looking out of their plane window, and then one that was like affixed to what it looked like the side of a jetliner, but it was probably with the explicit purpose of capturing the eclipse. There isn't much shit that looks like what we've captured, but what's funny is it looks exactly like I thought it would look like in my mind. Like as we were talking about how we wanted to capture this whole thing, and then seeing what we captured after we filmed it, that was pretty rewarding. It was like, not only did we do this crazy thing with the timing to be here at this exact moment, but we also coordinated all this other shit to and again, like if other people can watch it and enjoy it, great. But really, it's so that you and I can look back at this at some point and be like, oh yeah, that was fucking sick.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And it's really hard to describe what it was like in the Totality. And I think even when you watch the video, you're not totally going to get it the way that we get it. And every time I watch it, it feels like I'm there again. I'm remembering exactly what it was like. It was like moving. Like I felt these emotions like I'd never really felt before. So seeing something so surreal and intense, and all the work that went into it, it was absolutely incredible. And now we have this video that we can watch forever. I'm going to look at it every time I look at the sun, which I do on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, with no glasses. Yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if I'm sure you probably came across this at some point, but there's one of the very famous trips taken in a plane during an eclipse was in a Concorde, and it was this specially fit Concorde. There's this whole story about how the pilot was, trying to chase it so that it could stay. It was the fastest plane in the world, so they figured if they got in at the right spot, they could get the longest possible amount of time in Totality. They retrofitted it with all these crazy scientific instruments, and as we were doing this, I just thought it was funny how we were trying to do that, but light. What I mean? Like we don't have a Concorde. We're not fitting it with millions of dollars worth of scientific equipment, but we are kind of doing that light.
Yeah, I think we got at least 1 or 2 seconds more than the stationary person. And we were going 200 miles an hour. The sun's going, or the moon is going 2,000 miles an hour or something like that. And definitely caught I think it was 4.5 minutes of Totality if you were stationary. So I think we were moving in the direction of the moon. So I think we got a little bit more than the average person.
I would think so. I mean, we definitely did, because most of the people on the ground, at least in Texas, had cloud coverage.
Yeah, when you watch the video, you can see down. I was actually a little disappointed in that, because I wanted to see the lights on the ground, and maybe this is a little bit what the people on the ground felt trying to see the eclipse. And I was like, oh man, like I could kind of see the stuff on the ground. So I say like I got to see the lights on the ground. But I would have really liked for people on the ground, I'm sure as well, like just for total clear skies would have been super cool. But you could see the city, we could see car lights. It probably doesn't come through in the video, but we were looking down, we were looking up, we were looking all around, and it felt like it was nighttime in that moment, but you could see all around you that it wasn't nighttime. Like and some people describe it as like a 360 sunrise. I literally felt like we were in like a dark spot on the earth. Like, yeah, it wasn't quite a sunrise because it was so bright over there. Like because we could see over the horizon, we could see clouds that were lit up, not just the, orange glow of the horizon where you'd get from like a sunrise or sunset, but we could really tell we were in the center of an eclipse. And that was really unique. That is a really good point, because I'll agree with you. The 360-degree sunrise, to me, when I envision that in my mind, is the whole sky is orange and red. And in our case, there was a thin line of hyper bright orange, yellow, red, and everything else was pitch black. And again, it happened so fast. I remember it had to have been us completely entering it. There was a point where everything got super red, and I was like, "Oh, it's happening now. We are in it." And then, without even realizing, it was pitch black. It was crazy. It definitely had a very universal planetary, like just the way that the light was peaking in a circle around us, just in this thin halo. Yeah, I mean, it was fucking magnificent. It's one of the most intense and mesmerizing natural things I've ever seen in my entire life, for sure. When it was coming at us, you could see the dark spot on the ground, and in my experience flying, you'll see that somewhat often with large storms. You see it's dark over there. I don't want to go over there because there's like a towering cumulonimbus cloud that's like going to suck you up into it and rip you apart. And so I think I even said in the video, like there's a storm. It looks like there's a storm approaching. Yeah. Because that's just the only thing I could relate it to in my brain is like, there's a dark spot coming at us. Like that's normally like a storm. But it was coming so fast. Like at first it's on the horizon, you can kind of see it, and then 1 minute later it's like running over us, and then we're in totality. And it went really quickly. It was 4.5 minutes, but it felt like 30 seconds. It was so fast. It went by so fast. I don't think there was a ton of change in the clouds, but something about the lighting of the clouds below us, I think you at one point said it was like we were on an alien world, and that's what made it trippy for me, because we were flying in the sky, a situation I'm fairly familiar with, and then all of a sudden we were like in a submarine underwater, and we were in this weird underwater. It was just like this weird perception shift that I experienced. I don't just watching it. I still really don't even know what to say. It's just crazy that you fucking did the math to make that happen. Like I think it's important to kind of understand how long and how detailed the planning was for this, because it was a lot. There was a lot of just tangible math on your end to make sure we were in the right space at the right time. But then, recording it, managing the batteries, it was a whole damn thing. You're a one-man production crew now. I hope you know that. You really came out of nowhere with a lot of organization that was super crucial in making that happen. Mm-hmm. But I'm wondering if I can just pull up the
the little doc here so we can just kind of give people an idea.
I have it open here if you want
to
share my screen.
Yeah, here for sure. Yep.
Let me close out all this other crap. Yeah, let me share the screen, because a lot of the things with aviation, it's about preparation, right? And this flight it wasn't much different than a normal flight in the sense that I am planning every step of the way. I need to know where I'm going to be, at what time, how much fuel I'm going to have when I get there, what the weather's like, and then have contingencies for every single thing. Like, what if I don't get, I'm not able to get there, if I have to divert from the airport, and all this other stuff. So, we kind of went through that idea with, I just want to write it all out and look at it and have it all written down, and that it's important that you and I are on the same page, because you're not a passive person in this plane. You're a very active participant. I will ask you for things, I'll ask you to look for stuff, I'll ask you to watch this instrument, do something, and it's important that you understand what's going on, so that you can help me fly the plane, and then we're more safe that way. So, the things that were novel to this flight are all of the production aspects to it. So all of the video equipment. I had done a couple of experimentations with attaching a GoPro to the plane, with a suction cup on the interior, and on the step, on the foot step where we got the 360 shot. And I had just used like really old cameras I had from like college, just cheap stuff. I think the GoPro Hero 2, which is over school. Yeah. Over 10 years old. Like maybe it gets 1080p, but it's like crap pictures. So I started everything out. I had just sort of shopped for all this stuff. Came out with some like pre-flight checklists. So we wanted to make sure everything worked before we got in the plane. So we actually went out to the hangar the night before, test fitted everything, kind of saw where we were going to be. And let's see, we had tried all the equipment. We had a Insta360 X3, I think is the model. And, funny about that is they came out with the X4 like a couple days after.
Yeah, it was like a day after the eclipse.
It was a day after the eclipse, and their marketing materials were featuring the eclipse. And I was like, are you like, why couldn't you have, I ordered this, actually this came up on us really quickly because we started talking about it like in January, and then April was coming around, and I said, oh crap, I haven't shopped for anything, I haven't ordered anything, and we're leaving in like 10 days. So that actually became a problem because we didn't get some of the equipment we wanted.
Oh yeah, the pole. That's right.
The original idea was, let me scroll down. This is all the stuff we got. We had the Sony camera, the Insta360, 2 action cameras, backup batteries, extra SD cards, the pole, a suction cup, which we wanted to use, which we didn't get to, the shirts, the computer, the glasses, obviously, but here was the idea with the pole, is that you could mount it on the wing, and it would give you this look ahead shot where the camera is smart enough to delete the pole, like the selfie stick pole. With the Insta360, has 2 lenses on the outside, and the curvature of this lens, they overlap with each other, and it's able to stitch that video together, but also delete the pole that it's on from the video. So it would have been a different camera than you see here, but the same idea. And it would have just been like a really, really cool shot. So we didn't get to do that because 2 reasons. I ordered this to the wrong house, and it arrived 2 hours after we left.
Yeah.
So it was just not meant to be. But the idea was we could mount it on the front facing the plane, or out to the side. And thinking through this, the position in the blue frame here, or blue diagram here, probably wouldn't have worked because it would have created too much like lateral drag. But the pink or magenta line would have been
straight up front. Yeah,
it would have been straight up front. Would have been a good shot. And this is actually a diagram of the underside of the wing for this aircraft that we flew, the Mooney M20J. It shows all the inspection panels and where you can mount it. I did test fit it here after I got the pole, and it looks really good. And we'll try that someday.
Definitely.
I thought about where we wanted the cameras to go. I wanted to put, I really wanted a camera on the instruments of the plane. A lot of the aviation videos we watch have that sort of superimposed or like picture in picture, I guess, on the video in the critical phases of flight, like landing and takeoff. All the aviation nerds or pilots out there are like wondering, like,
what are those numbers?
What are the airspeed they're coming
numbers?
in at? You know, if you've ever been in a Mooney, or if you know how to fly the Mooney, especially, you got to fly it right on the numbers, because if you come in too fast, you're going to float all the way down the runway and run out of runway. So I take pride in coming in exactly on the numbers, and when you get over the fence or over the edge of the runway, you're at 71 knots, exactly as close as you can get, and then having a smooth touchdown after that. So I really wanted that, but the suction cup was in the order with the pole, so it didn't arrive. And then the suction cup that I had was old, so the like rubber had kind of dried out, and it didn't stick.
It didn't suck enough.
It didn't suck. It sucked at sucking. And, you know, the windows in a plane are not glass, they're actually like plastic. So it just doesn't, it needs to be really grippy. The suction cup needs to grip really, really well, just because it's just not as like slick as glass, it's plastic. And then the other idea I had was, all right, well, I kind of wanted a behind the seat picture of us, like, you know, doing things and going through. And so we wanted to, I thought, we'll zip tie or somehow attach one of the action cams to the like speaker box in the ceiling. We have this like backup speaker in case our headsets are not working. We want to hear the radio. We could put the radio through the speaker and at least be able to hear in that event that your headset breaks or whatever's not working. That ended up being a terrible shot. It vibrated too much. It just didn't work at all. But I had this iPad mount that I can, on the yoke, control yoke stick or pole or whatever you want to call it, it would mount on there. And it just happened to be the same like mounting equipment that you would, or the same like 1/4-inch screw that you would do for a camera. So I said, well, I'm not using that anyway. Let's mount it on the support bar that goes down the windshield. And that ended up being a really, really good shot of us facing our faces, which in hindsight makes total sense. Like that's what people don't want to see the back of our heads. They want to see our faces, and they want to see out of the cockpit. So I'm glad that we test fitted this stuff, and I'm glad that neither of these ideas worked, because with just having the two cameras, really the best shot we could have gotten was out the front like we did, where it's facing the prop, and then facing us to see our reactions of kind of what we were doing. So that it worked really well in the end. And then for cockpit audio,
the essential,
we have this Zoom recorder, which allowed us to get not only the ambient audio of the cabin, which is nice for the video. It also was the intercom. You know, in the general aviation, the plugs are just normal 1/4-inch plugs. So like you can go grab a guitar cable and plug it into the Zoom and plug the other end into the plane, and there you go. You're getting the audio in real time. We just plugged it in the back seat in one of the extra headset jacks back there.
Honestly, I was super pleased with that. We had that on the tripod, and for as jostled around as we were getting at any point in those flights, that thing, like even the audio too, it's not really bad. Normally you'd hear all that movement and jostling. There is something buzzing, a metallic washer or something under your seat though. That is for sure in the recording too. But there could be a number of things.
Yeah, well, these planes, everything is vibrating.
Right, it's metal on metal.
Somewhat violently. And I think that it's actually, like, I know that when we pull the power back and the RPM's slow, to some level, the overhead vent rattles.
Oh, no, you're totally right. That's got to be what it is.
It rattles like absolute crazy. And I usually will warn people. I say, look, that's a normal sound.
Don't worry. All right.
It's, the plane's not falling apart. I know that I just pulled and it's, if we get in some like turbulence or something, I need to slow down quickly. I'll pull the power out. And then, so they're getting bounced around. And also this new rattling is happening. Can be very disturbing. Very disturbing to my wife specifically. So
I'm sure it's unsettling to plenty of folks.
You just don't want to hear like things falling off the plane, understandably. So it's definitely not a sound treated environment at all. Like you just have to have hearing protection. You have to have something. You could take your headset off for a moment, but it's like long-term. Over the long-term exposure, you'll have hearing damage, so you have to have it.
I mean, super quickly. You're right behind an engine, a very powerful engine.
Yeah, exactly. And there's like very little sound treatment at all in this plane from the 70s. Okay, what else? Oh yeah, so I wanted to capture what I do on the iPad. I actually use the iPad a lot during flying. It has our it has a moving map. It has exactly where we are. We actually get weather data to the iPad, so we can check, not only this document we're looking at here, where I have sort of everything planned out, but also like more granular flight times, and I can check in with myself to say, are we ahead of schedule, behind schedule, are we where we need to be? And then, of course, if we're doing any kind of instrument flying, like we need to do an approach in any kind of weather, like low level clouds. So I have all of my charts and all of my plates there. So it's my it's called an EFB, electronic flight bag. You are required to have a copy of all the sectional charts that you're flying, all the IFR charts you're flying, and then all of the approaches to the airports you're going to. And those charts are only good for like 90 days, I think. So
oh, wow.
Having them in the iPad means I don't have to keep buying,
print. Yeah. Right.
When I learned to fly in 2008. I've been flying for a long time, and that was before pre-iPad, pre-iPhone kind of stuff. So I learned on paper charts and still have some, but sure is really nice to just have it,
Definitely.
Download all my stuff
in a scalable device. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know instantly that my stuff is up to date, because I'd have to review all my charts if I was going on a trip, and check the dates at the bottom to see when they were issued and when they expire. Because you could also buy them before they become valid. Like I could buy the ones for July that are coming up in 30 days today, when they wouldn't be legal to fly with that because it's not July yet.
Right.
So I wanted to get the iPad recording because I do a lot of stuff there. And, we had probably, 5 hours of iPad footage, and it made it into the clip for about 30 seconds. So I don't know if it was worth it, but it was a cool idea. So I probably would do it again.
Yeah, it definitely seems like to be one of those things where you're already looking at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Might as well just capture it every time.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the flight plan itself. So we basically had two flying days. We were going to fly to San Antonio from Nashville, where I live, where the plane is based. And I kind of, for the flying to San Antonio, kind of didn't spend as much time on it. I thought, where are the airports with the cheapest gas along the way? And what's the weather going to be like? Some basic flight planning, because we didn't need to be there at a particular time. It was a really easy day. So I just kind of wrote, we should leave as early as possible, around sunrise. I think we left like an hour later than that. But and then when we got to the airport, we did some like B-roll footage and stuff. So we were, way
we took
behind.
Our time. Yeah.
We were taking our time, but we were way behind like a normal schedule I would do, because normally I like to just like get up, have a banana, half a coffee, drink some water, and get out of here.
Get out,
going.
yeah.
Just get there, because it's a long day, and the best flying is early in the morning before the sun has had time to heat up the earth, and when it heats the earth, it heats the air, and the hot air rises, and that creates turbulence. So if you can leave early in the morning, the air is like smooth. It's kind of like if you've ever been on the lake and it's like glossy water in the early morning. It's exactly like that in the air. So if you can get up with the sunrise, if you take off at sunrise, it's just awesome. So that was the plan, but we took our time, and we thought we would land around 2 or 3, and I think we landed like somewhere between 3 and 4. So it actually wasn't too bad.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, it went by pretty quick. Considering all that they have down there is fucking chicken farms. Oh, are you frozen? Oh, geez. Technical difficulties. Nice. All right, share your screen again.
Technical difficulty. Yeah, I just looked over and it said connection lost. What was the last thing I said?
We were talking about you ended right on a sentence and then you froze, so I thought you like completed a point.
Just
but you were just frozen. But you were saying how you didn't really put a ton of thought into the flight out to San Antonio, and talking about how long it was. It went by pretty quick, and I said it didn't even really seem that long, even though all that we had to look at was chicken coops.
Okay, cool. So I can move on from that point.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think you got everything in there.
Yeah, and then when we got to San Antonio, we were starving, right? Because we only had like a snack. So we got In-N-Out Burger, which is a fast food restaurant chain that's popular on the West Coast and has moved into Texas. And I lived in Los Angeles for a little over a year and got really accustomed to In-N-Out Burger, so had to have it. Then we just had like a really awesome time in San Antonio and Austin.
We really super chilled.
Dude, we chilled hard.
We super chilled. Also, shout out Paul, Raven, Jackie, and Raul. Thank you all for the hospitality and for hanging out with us. We greatly appreciated that. I mean, it's so funny to me how like we it's good that we said that. Like that, my problem is I'll steamroll through my whole life, and I'll forget to live a single fucking moment of it if I'm not reminding myself frequently to stop and smell the fucking roses sometimes.
Yeah.
And like up until us, at least the week before, definitely getting, because remember the day I was going to come down, we had the earthquake in New York.
Yeah.
And like there was this idea like maybe the trip's going to get canceled, all the planes might get grounded. Yeah. But like there was all this stuff to get there, but we had, Saturday and Sunday that there was no Eclipse agenda. We charged the batteries. That was like the most we thought about it.
That's all we had to do.
We really did get to like clear our minds and experience a little bit of Texas and eat some really good food and hit the fucking park. It's just funny because there's like this trip is multiple layers. It's like us setting up for it. That was a whole thing. And then us getting the plane into motion and then getting to Texas. It's got its own vibe there. And even, the morning of, it felt like 2 different days, like getting in the plane and then doing the actual eclipse and then getting back to Nashville. But, I don't know. I had a blast there. I think every Texas thing that we wanted to do, we fucking crushed there for sure.
Yeah, we did it right. We went there knowing that we only had about 24 hours to do stuff because we arrived on Saturday. Sunday was just the day to have fun and shoot a little bit of the story.
Monday's back to business, yeah.
And then Monday morning, it's like all about this flight. Like I think we were going to go to breakfast Monday morning.
We're
like fuck that. Let's just go straight to the airport. I think we were at the airport like an hour early.
Easy.
It's an hour before we needed to be there for sure.
But it's good that we did because we got to check the weather and like none of it.
Yeah.
Even though it was happening super fast, none of it felt rushed. That was a net positive. Didn't we have to like go searching for gas or something too? There was like some weird issue with their card.
I don't.
Or no, we were trying to get gas, and like these places didn't
rental
have
car.
any gas or what?
Yeah, it was the rental car. We wanted to top it off before we returned it, and we went to the first pump we went to, which was the closest there. Added 0 minutes on the route. Like, it was super sketchy. Some like sketchy dude hanging out
really
there. Like,
was. Yeah,
it really wasn't taking your card. I would be surprised if you haven't got scammed by now from that. Like, 'cause we swiped it over and over again. It wasn't working. Nothing was working. And then we went to another one, and like a regular gas station, like a popular one, like a Shell or Exxon or something. And then the first pump we tried said the same thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, shoot. And then, so we drove around to just in the same gas station to a different pump, and finally it was working. And I'm like, wow. Well, like, getting kind of stressed about that, but got the car fueled up. Then we got to the airport with lots of time, and that was really nice. Actually, I would say that, thinking about it again, we arrived on time because we were really relaxed. We could hydrate some water. We could hit the bathroom, talk about the flight again, talk about the weather, get some B-roll. We made a friend with the ramp guy.
Yep.
And thanks for subscribing, by the way.
Yeah, you're the real hero here.
Yeah. We made 2 subscribers on this trip, so
we did it.
It was nice to meet. Because we got there early, had time to talk to people and explain what we were doing. When we were walking around with the camera, it actually attracted a lot of attention, so people were really curious about what we were doing. And we were really happy to share that, because I felt really proud of this mission. Like, we're doing something challenging, and it's cool, and people want to hear about it, and that's always a rewarding feeling to have something people want to hear about.
It's funny, when we showed up there, people knew what we were trying to do. And like that's I think why they wanted to come up and talk to us, because like they saw how serious we were, and they knew what we were going up in the sky to do, and they're like, "You're gonna do that?" I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like many people I told that we were gonna do this are like, "You're crazy, you're crazy. You're gonna fly during the eclipse." I guess it really is. It's not so insane for us, but for a lot of people, it was kind of a crazy idea. It's something that a lot of people would never do, just on principle of like, it's too many weird things happening at once.
Yeah. Well, it's normal for us. We just do weird stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I think that
that's what it is. Yeah.
You and I live a rather unusual life. We've had a lot of life experiences that many people haven't, with, in the music industry and that kind of stuff, and just all the travel we've done, and I don't know. So to this, it didn't seem that weird to me. It just seemed like a new and interesting challenge.
A sick thing,
but yeah, to a lot of people, they're like, "Wait, what? You can do that? How do you do that?" It's just almost a normal day for us. I guess this would have been a completely normal flight if it wasn't for all the camera stuff we were doing.
Sure,
like it would have been. It would have just been like, just like we went to Miami. That was super chill. We had a flight plan, like it, But this is unusual because we had a place we needed to be at a specific time in the air on an IFR plan because of the cloud weather, and because the basically the cloud layer below was overcast. I didn't want to cancel. Like, there was one technique you could do where you could fly over, stay on your IFR plan until you get clear of the clouds, you get above the clouds, then you can just sort of cancel your IFR plan. And what this means is, when you're in instrument flight rules, IFR, you're basically told what to do the entire time by air traffic control. You can ask them for specific requests, but you're really at the mercy to them, even in uncontrolled airspace. And when you're VFR, it's sort of the opposite. You're kind of telling them what to do. Are you telling them what you're doing and advising them, and they're in turn advising you of traffic if they have capacity to do that. Sometimes they can deny your request, but anyway, we wanted to fly IFR because we had to. The clouds were so bad in San Antonio. Paul and Raven, they didn't get to see hardly anything. He texted me a photo when we had landed, and it was just like the clouds, like the cool eclipse. But we wanted to do this, first of all, safely, and second of all, legally. So we did spend a lot of time following the FAA's advisories, because they had actually issued a notice for this area. You know, some airports around that time would be very difficult to get into, or they expected that air traffic control would be limited capacity because maybe a lot of people are doing it. But when we filed the flight plan, I put in the notes, it said, you know, we're going to fly the Eclipse route. Please don't change the route. And for the most part, they obliged us in that request. And it wasn't until sort of the very end that they started moving us around. And I had, you know, as we talked about before, very carefully planned, you know, here I got the GPS coordinates of where the moon shadow would be at what particular times, and put us on a 50 nautical mile buffer. You know, so as long as we're anywhere on that line of 50 nautical miles, that we would be in totality.
Yeah.
And we were making good time in the air. You know, we were going pretty quick. So I slowed down a little bit. So I don't want to overshoot this. And then they, somewhere around, once we passed Waco, they wanted to keep us away from Dallas-Fort Worth area. So they had us sort of go east for a bit, and then directly north, when we were supposed to be on a heading of like northeast bound, you know, about 45 degrees. There's 045 magnetic compass heading, and instead they had us basically going directly east, like in a triangle instead of like a straight line. So actually had to pick up the pace a little bit, give a little, instead of it, I'd pulled the power back so that we could just save gas and sort of be where we wanted to be when we wanted to be there. And then I had to go back to normal power setting, and it ended up working out absolutely perfectly, because we said, you know, if we get to Terrell, Texas, where we've been cleared to, we have to make a turn to get back on course. And we got, that was where Totality would start, that sort of like the end of that that corridor that I had said, about 50 nautical miles. We get back onto that, and like literally as we're turning to get back on course, the shadow is coming over us. Like, it could not have been a more perfect timing. And you know, I was a little bit stressed by the changed routing, but we got to see a C-130, which is really cool. Like,
yeah, that was super random. Yeah.
Like over Waco, there's a VOR waypoint there that a lot of people were holding at, and specifically this C-130 was just doing a racetrack pattern just over and over again, waiting for the eclipse to start. I guess they were collecting weather data or something, but we were at I think 11,000 feet, and they were at 12,000 feet. So they flew over us with 1,000 feet, and they were literally right on top of us. Like, we could probably see the tail number.
For sure. If we had a
angle.
Slightly different angle, we could clearly read that. It was super close.
So we waved at them. I don't know if they saw us. If you're watching this, thanks for being in the video.
They looked like they meant business. So
they were doing some serious business, so some kind of legitimate business, I'm sure.
Definitely, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, not like spraying chemicals to all the people outside or anything like that. They're doing legit stuff.
Legit things.
So that was cool. We got to be exactly where we wanted to be, right where we wanted to be. Like, we had this like timer on the GPS panel that says, you know, you're 1 minute away from that waypoint, and that was like, we're looking at our watches. I think maybe it was 2 minutes from Totality to start turning all the cameras on.
Yeah.
Specifically the outside camera that was through Wi-Fi. Wanted to get that online, wake that up, and kind of just get it rolling so that we don't miss the start of that shot with the 360 camera. That was probably the trickiest part of this, managing cameras, because it only had, I think, 90 minutes battery life, or maybe an hour. I think it was an hour battery life. So we couldn't keep it on the whole flight. When we left San Antonio, it took us about an hour and 15 minutes to get to Terrell, or maybe an hour and a half. I don't recall exactly off the top of my head. It's in the video. But we had to think about that and selectively turn it on and off so that we made sure that we had enough battery to when we got to Totality, we could capture the entire thing. I think we said it needs to be 50% or greater
when we get to totality. So if it was around 50% or getting close to that, we wouldn't take any more B-roll shots. We'd leave it off until we got there. And I think it had like 80% when we got there. So we did
it was gravy. I mean, the only thing we grabbed was the takeoff. And honestly, that was like the most nerve-wracking part for me. Yeah. That was what I was doing while you were flying the plane. And I've got like my iPad and the phone controlling different cameras. The dash cams, those ghost cams were sick because they had enough capacity and were low maintenance enough to just kind of set and forget. But the 360 was definitely a little bit of a trick but we did fine with it. The only landing that we didn't end up getting was the landing in Nashville, but that's because we drained so much of the battery capturing the Eclipse. Yeah, and it was worth it. Every goddamn drop. It was
worth it. Yeah. I don't think you stressed it enough how busy you were on takeoff, because you had to, make sure that both of those action cameras were on, which they had a 9-hour battery life. That was incredible. We turned them on.
Those were great.
We turned them on before we started the plane, and then we just left them on until we shut the plane down and got out in Nashville. That was incredible. But when it came to the 360 camera, you had to do it with your iPad or your phone and kind of make sure that it's on. And you're working the Sony too, and then also just paying attention around to the surroundings, because it's also critical phase of flight. Like we talked about the plan. Like, what do we do if there's an engine issue? Where are we going? This kind of stuff. So we're on the same page. What are everybody's responsibilities? Is your seatbelt on? The kind of stuff like that. And is all this stuff secure? So this is a busy time for both of us.
And too, like, there's the element, like, I want to film this, but I also don't want to have a camera in the way of you seeing shit that you need to see. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
true.
like, I'm just cleverly trying to place the cameras and all of these screens in a way that's not going to disrupt you, because, again, safety was the most important thing. None of this is cool if we're dead. And, there's no, if you follow all the guidelines and you talk about the plan and you kind of just have a loose idea of what needs to happen when it needs to happen. Yeah. It just makes a lot of things easier. And we did, like, I cannot emphasize to people here, as much as we didn't plan it, we planned a lot. And we definitely talked about, as we're filming the shots and how they would end up cut together, and putting together the shot list, and then sifting through all the video. But that was an intense moment. I was like, don't tell me we get to this point and I fuck up the 360 camera. Like, don't tell me we get all past all this stuff right at this right spot at the right time and that camera doesn't work. But it did. It worked great. And that video,
perfect.
That video is hypnotizing. Whether it's time lapse, whether it's straight time, whether it's cut together with the other clips, I could watch that on repeat continually. It's just so cool to watch that.
You know who gets to watch it on repeat? Patreon subscribers.
Patreon subscribers exclusively. We're going to be posting. Yeah, we're going to be posting the Totality unedited in its own totality on the Patreon. That's the only place where you'll be able to see it. The video will, of course, be on YouTube and Patreon, but if you want to watch the Totality raw, you got to go to Patreon.
Yeah. It's only like $3, right, to subscribe?
It's super fucking reasonable and totally legit. So.
It's legit. It's a legit investment.
If you want to
see more of these, we spent a lot of money on this trip.
And time. This was a resource sink for sure.
I think that for every minute of the video, the planning and editing was 3 hours. So
Easy.
We spent so much time planning this, so much time talking about it, so much time organizing all the footage. We had, 500 gigabytes of footage to go through.
Yeah.
We had a script that we sort of loosely went off of. Everything was one take as well. Like, unless like a phone rang or something, everything was one take. Like, if you fucked it up, we're just going to go with it. But we didn't really mess anything up. So
that is also a shocking point. Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's only one time we had to redo it. Like your like medicine alarm went off or something, and it's like whatever. But then it only slowed us down by 30 seconds.
anyway, the point was like we spent a lot of time on this video, and we want to do it again. But it really helps if you subscribe to Patreon so that we could get more equipment. You know, we want to do this again with the pole mount and the side step, so we could have shots of both sides of the plane for 360. That'd be fucking sick. We could get another action camera to get onto the engine instruments. We could get upgrade some of the podcast equipment. Just there's a lot that could produce in production value if you're a Patreon subscriber. So subscribe.
You definitely be helping us out. And, you know, I guess what I mean to say by this is if we did this, if we were able to put this together, just us, with your support, who knows what we could put together? Who knows what kind of crazy adventures we could find ourselves on? But yeah, I think you know, in the spirit of that, even before we were done, I was already thinking about the things that we would maybe do better. That's kind of just how you and I mean, we, you know, from events and from your and I work, what we do as work, we're constantly thinking of, okay, if we were to do this better next time, how would we do it? And as intimidating as this whole process was, you know, this is easily the best video I've ever been had any part in helping produce. You know, if we do something that's a level up from this, you know, it's like Red Bull shit. I'm just super pleased. Gotta sneeze. Oh God, there we go. Okay, good. I'm just super pleased that, well, you know, you kind of said it the best. We kept our expectations so low that no matter what, everything was going to be fine. And our expectations were so low that I guess the universe just conspired to make everything work out for us exactly. Even when we were turning into Totality, like that's what I was saying before, it reminded me of that story because the pilot who was flying that Concorde into the Totality for all the scientific stuff, there's like a moment where he has to adjust mid-flight and he thinks he's going to fuck it up and it's going to, you know, lose 20 minutes of them being in the Totality. But he, you know, corrects his course and like banks right into the Totality, and then captures it. This was a serious operation. This was not this. I'm honestly kind of amazed still that just the two of us were able to pull this off because this was a lot. Even the videos that we saw, the fighter jets, Red Bull or whatever that were up in the air, like that took teams of people to coordinate. Just them getting those planes in the air and that simple phone video that they got of the eclipse.
Yep. Yeah, that looked like a really big production. I mean, Red Bull goes all out with all their, their marketing, and that was awesome. I saw Red Bull do something, and then NASA flew they have a really high altitude jet. It's called it's a WB-57, and they flew that thing high altitude, and that's a really cool jet. But
the JSC.
I think that's what it's called.
Damn, that thing.
What's it look like?
Definitely a space. Looks like a fucking Star Wars jet.
If you have it up, show a picture of it. Yeah. Oh, I have a video. Let's see. No, I have a link. Yeah, the JSC. That's the one I was talking about. Those things are crazy. And you know what? Something we wanted to do that's on our list is to go to the Pima Museum in I think it's in New Mexico, like Arizona, and they have one of these, I think, and just be cool to go to that museum.
Yeah, I definitely down this rabbit hole. Jesus Christ, this is NASA's page for the thing. That is super cool. Yeah, this I've talked about this on the show all the time, but the lore behind space planes and the stuff that has been developed and the stuff that is like really been in service for fucking decades would blow your mind. And a lot of it is, you've never heard about it, but it's in a museum that you can go visit.
Yeah. These guys that fly in the JSC, they fly above 60,000 feet.
Damn.
So they're have
basically in space.
They're the only ones who really went up this on this flight. I mean, the people. I think Delta or Southwest or somebody had some like Eclipse flights that were sold out, which were probably a really cool experience going from Austin to Chicago. Awesome, but the JSC, the NASA guys, like, unless you were on the space station, this was the ultimate view. And they're flying, 400 knots. They're going fast. They would have had the best experience. And that's a huge plane, and it only seats like 2 people.
Yeah. Well, it's all full of equipment.
It's full of equipment. It's full of fuel. I mean, it's a 72,000 pound plane. It's huge.
Oh my gosh, you can kind of see it too. A lot of these planes that fly, I guess it's going to have to pop around again here. You see the fuel leak, but a lot of the planes that fly super high, they're not actually fit totally airtight because right here you can see it. Oh shit, I'm not.
You're not showing it.
God damn it. And of course that picture goes away, but it'll come back around. But basically, they're not fit totally airtight because as the plane flies up that high, the metal expands. And gas will just leak out of it. It happens from the U-2 spy plane. It happens on the SR-71. Any plane that flies, super high altitude, you can see it right here. The gas is seeping through the cracks. But again, it's loose when it's down here. As soon as it gets up there, everything's airtight and working well. But I don't know. It's just it's always. Even when we're flying, it trips me out that humans have mastered or at least understood the basic principles enough to have it be as abundant as it is. But just the math and science that went into getting humans consistently to fly 50,000+ feet in the air and come back down safe every time. It always fucking blows my mind.
Yeah. And that JSC's from the 60s.
Yeah, no,
or early
70s. It's got very much U-2 spy plane vibes.
Yeah, when you get up to the altitude, it's really hard to keep the aircraft cool because there's no air. It's so thin that you don't get as much of the cooling effect of the air. So that's why they get so hot. It's not, I mean, you also, if you're talking about this, like the super fast planes flying like Mach 3 and stuff, I mean, they have friction heat, but this one's only going 400 knots, which is like a reasonable speed. It's not super fast, and they still have that heating issue, I'm assuming, because it's just when you're flying at the edge of space, you don't have as much mass to radiate heat into. It's just the air's too thin.
You're on the precipice. You're on the precipice of a totally different medium. Yeah, or absence of medium.
Man, yeah.
It's just super cool, and I was definitely low level hoping we saw some alien shit while we were up in the sky, but it was still pretty epic regardless. I feel like every time though you fly, when you look at the world from a different perspective, it has an effect. I remember even when we went down to Miami and we flew over Space Coast, and just seeing I've only seen NASA from that perspective on the ground. I've never seen it from the sky, and just imagine oh, that's what would it look like to watch a rocket launch from this perspective? And it's something similar that astronauts have. It's called the overview effect. And it's when you go out to the world from outside of planet Earth and you look at planet Earth, it fundamentally changes your philosophy on existence. And a lot of astronauts talk about having this deeply spiritual experience that forever changes them when they look at the Earth from outside of the Earth. And it's called the overview effect. But
wow.
Every time we're up there, I get that. And definitely when we were up there for Totality, I had it. I was like, this is making me look at my world, the place that I was born and raised on. It's making me look at it in a way that I've never thought to look at it. And I don't know, super cool. I'll never forget it. The fact that we have the video is just a nice little cherry on top. We fucking aced that. We fucking aced that.
We did it. It was legit. We did it. I wanted to share my favorite article I read about the solar eclipse, and the headline says Mexican TV outlet accidentally airs man's testicles during the solar eclipse coverage.
Oh, that's great.
I'll play it. This is safe for really YouTube. Good. It's all blurred out, but it's kind of hard to see what's going on in that just second. But if you just think about what he's doing, he had a lamp in the background and his testicles were eclipsing the lamp. And that was the eclipse. And as you saw in this brief clip there, it was on live TV.
That is just so good.
Yeah, viewers submitted footage of the eclipse with his testicles in front of a light.
God, dude, that is so fucking good.
Yeah, so people did some weird stuff over the eclipse, like, here it is again. That's awesome. I saw another article that said somebody said like that God told them to shoot at passing cars during the eclipse.
Oh my God.
I saw another article that somebody, like a smart person, like an educated, like doctor or like pediatrician or somebody like was riding in one of those like mobile home trailers, or not mobile home trailers, but like camping trailers during the eclipse. You're not supposed to ride in those when they're in motion. And I guess they hit like a bump or something, and they hit the door and they fell out and they died. And I'm just like, dude, what are people doing? That's like, God. The eclipse is making people crazy.
Well, people have been saying the fucking full moon brings out the crazies for a long time. Like this. Why wouldn't it bring out the craziest of the fucking crazy?
Yeah.
I also think there's like a level of party time. It's like the same thing when people go down to fucking New Orleans during Mardi Gras. They think it's cool for them to like pull their dick out anywhere. You know what I mean? They don't realize that that's a crime. Even during Mardi Gras, you can't pull your tits or dick out. That's a crime. It's called exposure. What is that? What is this?
This is that AI song about the eclipse. Oh my God!
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I get flagged for it, but we'll see. We're about to see. We're about to see.
Maybe it'll be for the XLB.
I was a real goofball going just for me. Didn't want to live vicariously.
This is AI too.
During the eclipse, I copped the look, but immediately I had my damn world shook. I can't see titties anymore. I scorched my fucking retinas. Goddamn shit fuck. Now I won't
Goddamn shit fuck.
I blinded myself from this damn eclipse. Now I'll never get a peek of sun tasting it.
Put a link in the description for this one.
Oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, folks, it's been a good old time. We've loved traveling down memory lane, talking about our eclipse experience. Preston, is there anything else you want to say about the experience before we get out of here on this diggity dog tune?
I think this song captures it pretty well. It's we did some Texas shit. We saw the eclipse. We did something new and unique. And we got to capture and share with you guys. If you want to see us do it again, subscribe to Totally Legit, Patreon. That all goes to James. This is his show. He's doing it. I'm just here for the ride. I'm glad we could all share it together. So thank you for having me on the podcast again. Thanks for enabling me to go on this trip. I'm glad you could do it with me. It was so much fucking fun. I can't wait for the next one.
Dude, thank you for literally taking me flying through the fucking sun. We entered a portal, and I gotta lie. I'm not gonna lie. The universe is now better. We conducted a crazy experiment up in that sky, and man, I wish we could see, but we can't because we looked at it and we're blind, and we have to wear these glasses for forever. Everybody, thank you so much. Like and subscribe, and check out the exclusive content on Patreon. For the rest of this episode, we're riding this song out. Toodles!
See ya.
I can't see titties anymore. I scorched my goddamn eyes out. Motherfucking shit fuck. Guess it's only me with this awful love. I blinded myself. guess I'm fucking gay now.
Man, AI's getting them